Now here is Aparna Ramaswamy continuing with the virtuous stories of the Panchatantra.
Good morning, I'm Aparna Ramaswamy narrating the Panchatantra. Continuing our previous episode where we left off, the jackal is talking with the bull. He has tried to, kind of talk to the bull and the lion, trying to get them to meet, and he's telling the bull, don't you ever forget the favor I did you, because if you do, you'll pay for it. And he narrates a story of the rise and the fall of a wealthy merchant. And the story is, in a city, there was a king, he had a minister, and that minister was superb. He was a great administrator, he was a good advisor, he was a very wise man, and the king was very, very trusting of him. The minister's daughter had a wedding, and the minister had gone through a great deal of trouble. It was an extremely grand celebration, and he'd invited the king, all the other ministers over there, and at that same time, there was a sweeper. This sweeper was someone who swept the king's bedchambers, and this sweeper was also there. After the ceremony got done and everybody had departed, the sweeper goes up to the marriage stage, the wedding stage, and sits in one of those privileged honored chairs. The minister sees him sitting there, gets so enraged, gets a hold of him by his collar and throws him out and says, "How dare you behave with such impudence?" The sweeper gets very, very upset about this, and he says, "I'm going to get back at you." So the next day, when the king is kind of half asleep, half awake in the bed, the sweeper is cleaning up the bed, and he mutters aloud. He says, this poor king, if only he knew all the kinds of things that goes on behind his back. That minister who he trusts so much, he goes about embracing the queen, and they're having this affair. This poor king doesn't know anything. The king is absolutely alarmed. He wakes up and goes up to the sweeper and says, "What did you say? I want you to repeat it." And the sweeper says, "Oh, don't listen to me. I've been up all night. I'm half asleep. I'm tired. I don't even know what I'm saying. Don't listen to what I'm saying." But the king kind of starts getting doubtful. So he does not rely as much on the minister. He kind of pushes him a little away. And over time, the minister becomes out of favor. He doesn't have anything to do in the job. He's very sad and he's dejected and he's walking around. One day near the palace grounds, the sweeper sees this minister walking around. So he calls down to the guards and he says, "Hey guards, don't treat that minister poorly. Don't treat him the way he treated me at his daughter's wedding. Be nice to him. Don't forget what people can do." The minister hears it and immediately realizes that the reason why he's out of favor is somehow connected with the sweeper. So that evening, he calls the sweeper and he says, "Well, come to my house." He honors him, gives him gifts, apologizes, says, "Look, I'm very sorry if I made you feel humiliated. I don't know why I did that. I just did it in that moment. Please forgive me." And the sweeper forgives him and says, "I'll fix this matter." So the next day, the same way, when the king is half asleep in bed, the sweeper mutters. He says, "What kind of a king do we have? He has such poor judgment. He eats a cucumber when he's sitting on his toilet seat." And the king wakes up alarmed and says, "How dare you say something like that?" And the sweeper says, "Don't listen to me. I'm half asleep. I'm tired. I didn't sleep that night. Don't listen to what I'm saying." Now the king starts feeling bad. He says, "You know what? I listened to this fellow and I kind of removed myself from this minister. Maybe I was wrong." So he sends for that minister and amends are made and the minister is back in the king's favor. Now the jackal, narrating the story, tells the bull. So he says, "I'm going to take you to the Lion King and I'm going to introduce you and you may become friends with him. But if you ever forget that the role that I played in this, you'll be sorry for that. So don't you ever forget it." So the bull goes and meets the lion and they become friends. They become such good friends that the lion is just completely enamored by the bull. He forgets to do his kingly duties, does not hunt as much. He spends all his time talking and being with the bull. Now the jackal, you have to remember, doesn't hunt on its own. It eats what the lion hunts. So over time, the jackal starts saying, maybe we made a mistake in introducing this bull to the lion. Right now, the lion has forgotten that he is our king. We're all famished. Maybe we are to blame for what we did. So it tells another jackal, do you remember the story of the holy man and the swindler? Do you remember what happened then? Maybe we are to blame for this. And the jackal says, what story? Please join us next week for the next story of the holy man and the swindler. I'm Aparna Ramaswamy with the Panchatantra.